Hey everyone, we are back with Tales of the Black Death, and I'm going to start taping this again. I just had a break from it and figured out some stuff, and yeah, there you go. So if you remember right, we escaped our hometown and our aunt's house and went to Florence, which I don't think is a smart idea, but I don't have much of a choice in the matter. It's how the game is going, so finally, after camping by the roadside and feeding on wood pigeons and boiled water, you arrive at the top of the ridge and see an impressive gathering of houses in the distance. Thought I did this part, but I guess it didn't register. There it is, in all its mighty glory. Florence. I guess back then Florence was a big deal. Oh, it's a really huge city, that's why. You gaze in amazement at the largest city you've ever seen. Here we can find shelter, plenty of food, and most of all, anonymity. Yep. Although I don't think I said that word right. Together you walk down the slope and move closer to a massive rampart that blocks the passage to the city. Oh. Soldiers are patrolling the iron gates. I knew it. What do you think? Surely the news of our journey haven't reached this town. We're two nobodies. No. Can't go through the front gate. They're probably not letting people in and out because of the plague spreading. As you start to walk away, Lorenzo grabs your arm. Let's climb over the wall somewhere. Follow me. Lorenzo and you start circling the town, but are bewildered at the size of the city. This is going to take all day. At that moment, you spot a tall tree near the wall. Beaming, you point it out to Lorenzo. That could do. The tree is an old elm tree with plenty of branches. Can't talk. On inspection, you notice the tree has already been used many times to cross over the city walls. Hoist me up. In a matter of minutes, you both cross the wall and land in the city. Florence. Okay. Immediately, you are stunned by the impressive architecture of Florence. Streets are paved with cobblestones, and crammed houses create a sprawling maze of small alleyways. The city is lively, but also you notice a few more guards patrolling the streets. I have a bad feeling. I've never seen so many guards. A strange uneasiness in the air is palpable. Apparently I can't read. People walk with haste, some pulling handcarts, others rolling barrels as if preparing for some sort of siege. You recoil as a mischief of rats quickly pass near your feet. Let's try to find supplies, or at least a safe place to spend the night. I suggest we split up and meet back here around midnight. Still overwhelmed, you nod. Oh, and whatever you do, don't get caught. With those words, Lorenzo disappears into a nearby alleyway. Take your own path or secretly follow him. Fudge. He did say to split up, so let's go our own way. Start walking and blend in with the small crowd as best you can. Pass a house with the window open, and on the ledge are 3 loaves of black bread airing out in the sun. That sounds gross. Should we continue walking or steal some? I don't know. We should totally take one. Walk closer to the window, take 1 loaf, and tuck it under your shirt. Something you learned from Lorenzo. Uh-oh. Leaving the alleyway, you find yourself facing an old church. A few beggars and poor townsfolk crowd the steps of the holy structure. You understand this church serves people of great misfortune. A woman carrying a child exits the church, leaving the door ajar. Repelled by curiosity and a calling, you creep in. Do I have to? Candlelit church interior is almost bare of any art and ornaments apart from a dozen hung paintings and a large cross erected towards a stone altar. As your footsteps echo and disturb the holy silence, a few praying worshippers glance at you with disapproving faces. I would expect nothing less. Trying to avoid their gaze, you walk towards a wide painting which illustrates a mountain, a gathering of the faithful, and a cross. In a dark recess, you notice a confession booth. You walk over and discover a copper box held shut by a metal lock. Having no coins to give, you decide to discard the box. I'm not stealing that. You walk past the donation box, and as you're about to enter the confession booth, a bulky man blocks your passage. Quickly divert your trajectory and sit on one of the many empty benches. Silence, bow your head, and bring your hands together in prayer to think of your journey so far. Convinced you haven't done any mortal sins, you simply ask for guidance and forgiveness. After a while, you leave the church and head to the nearby plaza. Keeping your head low, you pass a few shops, turn into a large street, and finally arrive into the city plaza. In the distance, you notice a small commotion. Rats. That's not good. In a far corner, peasants are gathering around a young girl who is having a fit of rage. Rats have cornered the poor child, and her attempt to scare them off has failed. Oh, look at Mr. Habersnatch. He's adorable. For some strange reason, the sight of rats scares the living hell out of everyone, and not a soul attempts to help the girl. Oh, that's nice of them. You could rescue the girl from the rats or look for a weapon. Isn't that kind of the same thing? Okay, I'm gonna look for a weapon. While rats start to climb on the girl's dress, you frantically search the plaza for some kind of weapon. On your left, you spot an old man leaning on a crooked wooden cane. Yeah, let's take an old guy's cane, why don't you? In the corner of your eye, you see the rats attacking the girl. Grab the cane and swiftly strike one of the largest rats violently. Boom. Lets out an ear-piercing scream, scaring off the other rats, or at least making them hesitant to attack you. You get closer to the girl and notice black patches around her neck and forearms. Well, there's no hope for her. Those are the clear signs she's infected by the same disease that killed your parents. I'm gonna have to leave her to die, because if I get near that shit, I die too. You move away from the scene. Oh, you move away and watch the scene unfold. That's nice. Rats bite and scratch the young girl's naked feet. They climb up her blood-dripping dress as she struggles to fight them off and falls to the ground hysterical. For anybody who thinks rats are always just adorable, of course I think these are starving, so. Overwhelmed by their sharp teeth and insistent assaults, the girl passes out. That sucks. More rats appear from the darkness and crawl towards her. Having seen enough, you cover your eyes, but the gut-wrenching screams chill your bones. Oh, the rats ate her. That's nice. Rhythmic footsteps approach, and you notice guards heading your way. You duck quickly into the nearest alleyway and start running until you feel far enough away from the unforgiving plaza. Dusk to dawn curfew. Interesting. As night falls, flickering lamps appear in the distance as a thin layer of wood smoke fills the air. At the edge of a tall church, a watchman in a thick leather coat rings an iron bell and calls out, "Night curfew." Because I'm not going to yell like the nightmen would. Far away, you hear the distant crack of doors and shutters closing shut. Soon the streets are bare except for a few rats scrambling along the houses or crawling deep in the gutters. As the watchman heads in your direction, you notice a drunk walking aimlessly in the alleyway. Not reading that. As the glow of the watchman's lantern edges towards the alley, you need to act quickly. You could push the drunk into the street to cause a distraction and flee, or you could hide in the shadows. I really feel like pushing a drunk. Yeah, okay. With all your might, you shove the drunk into the street. Off balance, he tumbles, falls, and curses. As the watchman turns his attention to the drunk, you jolt towards a narrow passage. As you reach the alleyway, you trip over a dark mass and fall to the ground. Ew. I think I did something bad. Your hands land in a slimy, sticky black substance. Ew. I think I'm screwed. Flickering lights reveal it is a maggot-eaten remains of a dog. Ew. I need a bath just reading that. As the light of the watchman appears to get closer. Another man over here. Oh shit, he found us. No. His thunderous voice sends chills down your spine. You peer out the alleyway and see armed men running towards you. You start to walk away. We need to run. A debt. Okay. Guards bring you to the city's guardhouse, where you are escorted along a dark, inhuman corridor to meet with the commander of the city guard. As you enter his chamber, the commandant, a broad-shouldered man with a chiseled face, barely acknowledges your presence. With a stern look on his face, he turns his attention to a document before he starts writing. Bodies shall not be removed from the place of death until they have been enclosed in a wooden box. Okay, so that's not morbid. And the lid closed and nailed down. Impatient, one of the guards moves forward, but as he opens his mouth, the commander lifts an authoritative finger and orders him to stay silent. Sheepish, the guard steps back as the commander continues to write. Each grave should be dug 2.5 arms length deep. Any persons attending a funeral shall not accompany the deceased. Wow, this is getting gross. Further than the door of the church. So they're privately burying people. The commander takes a deep breath, so that the sound of the bells don't trouble or frighten the sick. Sure. No bells are to be rung during funerals. Satisfied, the man puts down his pen and finally turns his attention to you. Of course, this won't apply to the burials of knights, doctors, and judges. As the guards nod in agreement, the commander locks his priggish eyes on you and winces. We cannot have vagrants roaming our streets of the great Republic of Defense. If I can actually read Italian, that'd be great. Especially in times like these. Where do you come from, boy? Should I lie or say where I'm from? Florence. No, you know I'm lying. How do you know I'm lying? Do you know everybody in this city? Piece of shit. Clearly you're not from here. The commander taps his fingers a few times on the wooden table. You're from the south. From the coastline, perhaps. You must be aware of the disease sprawling all over the countryside. Surely you've seen the results of this abomination. The death. The suffering. I'm gonna tell the truth. Lying didn't get me anywhere good. That's what I was afraid of. You understand why we cannot let you walk freely in our streets, then? The commander leans back in his chair. I don't play well with others, and I have no tolerance for lies. This is why I was elected to be commander of the city guard. Oh, good for you. I will ask you one last question, and if a lie crosses your lips, I will have you executed. Oh, well, that's nice. You're a pleasant man. I hope you know that. If I made myself clear? Terrified, you nod. Did you enter the city by yourself, or were you accompanied? Fuck. Don't want to sell out Lorenzo, but I don't want his lie detector to go off. As you confess of entering the city with another boy, the commander's face turns to stone. Send some men to locate his friend and bring him back to me. It shall be done. Very well. The commander folds up his document he was working on and leans forward over his desk. We are giving hefty fines to drifters and vagrants. But it's obvious to anyone that sees you, you could not afford to pay such a fine. We could have them clean up the streets. In some alleyways, we are knee-deep in, putrid matter. That's gross. Commander snarls, then reconsiders. That's not a bad idea. No, don't do that to me. Though we have a few peasants who can be exhorted to do so. Which reminds me. Commander picks up his pen, unfolds the documents, and starts drafting again. Citizens shall be responsible to remove all putrid matter and infected persons for which arise a corruption of infection of the air. Ew. You shake your head as you witness the guard beaming with satisfaction. And as for you, boy, in your carelessness, I shall send you to our dungeons. But I think I have a better idea. Commander grins as he looks over the guards. Perhaps you could do a favor for this great city. The commander leans forward, ready to share with you a great secret. Many people are dying within our walls. Fathers, mothers, children. You see, diseases do not discriminate. At night, we gather all the dead bodies, from the rich and the poor, to carry them to a large pit outside the walls of the city. Commander rubs his chin a few moments before a guard raises his voice. I bet some of them had coins in their pockets, maybe even some expensive rings or fingers or a golden necklace around their neck. Excuse me. Commander smirks. Maybe even a gold necklace. You see, I don't want to risk the soul of my men to have to steal from the dead. It just doesn't feel right. But if a boy from out of town, a vagrant, if a vagrant were to do this deed, well, perhaps he could buy his freedom back. That sounds fun. I always wanted a grave rob. Yep. Commander leans back in his chair. So what do you say? I either have to decline the offer and face condemnation or loot the dead. But if I loot the dead, I might catch the Black Death. And if I accept my condemnation, I'm gonna get killed. This is a lose-lose situation, isn't it? I guess this time around I will loot the dead. My satchel has bread in it, that's about it. And I have no way to save before I make this choice, that sucks. Dang it. Guess I'll decline, and worst comes to worst, I redo the chapter because I'm dead. Commander frowns instantly. Very well. Take him to the dungeons. The guards grab you by the shoulders and escort you down a twisted corridor to your doom. I just needed that. Dungeons are deep underground, cold, and merciless. In the darkness, the worst of society awaits you as the gates are locked behind your back. A deformed and sweaty beast of a man grabs you by the neck. Great, I'm gonna get killed. You are no match for the atrocities that follows. You don't survive the night. I'm dead. That's great. Backtrack and make wiser choices. This game is weird. Okay, so I'm back to the debt. I'm still captured, I think. Yeah, I am. Forgive me for zooming through this until my choices. He's still writing about the corpses, which is gross. Where he gets the authority to say how people can have their funerals is beyond me. Well, who knows? Tell the truth. I guess I'm gonna go loot the dead and see if I can get away or something. Confess I had a friend. He's gonna say you can go loot people. Well, going to the dungeon got me, like, ran over by Bubba, so I'm gonna go and, like, loot the dead people. You choose wisely. The guard grabs you by the shoulder and takes you outside the city. Okay. Grave diggers and grave robbers. This sounds fun. As night creeps in, a gentle mist appears outside the city walls. Faint flickering torches can be seen in the darkness, circling a large mud pit that is at least 20 feet deep and 2 times as wide. Ugh. Using large wooden shovels, gravediggers cover day-old cadavers with fresh layers of lime. Oh, that's because they have to dissolve under lime, which is not fast enough because this stupid plague wipes out like 80% of Europe. Guards take you to the mouth of the pit where the stench is quite strong. Oh, that's nice. Remind me not to make dinner after this. Try not to puke as one of the guards grins back at you. Nobody told you it would smell like roses. There must be hundreds of corpses down there, which means hundreds of pockets to plunder. Guard singles over one of the grave diggers. Take a rope and tie him to at the waistline. Oh, this is gross. Immediately, the gravedigger fetches a large rope and ties it around your waist. Now you go down there and do your work. Now, don't get any fancy ideas or we'll cut your neck in half. That sounds sweet of you. That the guard pushes you over the cliff and you are hoisted down to the bottom of the pit. Ugh. I'm not even in the pit and it just is horrible. Over your head, the ring of torches illuminates the walls and ground, and soon you find yourself standing in a field of corpses. I prefer flowers. The smell of decay is unbearable. Begin looting the corpses. Careful where you walk. Thanks a lot. You wouldn't want to fall face first in those remains. You choose your footing carefully and begin to search around you. I can either search the bodies that are wearing fancy coats or boots. I don't think either of that really matters. You inspect the pockets of the well-dressed cadavers to find nothing. You decide to go deeper in the pit. Crossing over a mess of entangled remains, you notice a hand sticking out. Oh, well, I'm sure there's many. The fingers are covered with jewelry. Carefully, you lift the man's hand and start taking off the jewelry. 2 rings come off easily, but the other 2 won't budge. Ew. I can either pull as hard as I can or search somewhere else. Since I'm a determined little monkey. You pull on the rings, but the decaying skin also comes off. That's awesome. I knew it. That was stupid. So I died in a pit trying to get rings off a guy's finger. That's nice. Wonder how far it's going to make me backtrack. No. Just the graves. Alright. Let me see. There's earlier stuff I could pick that's better than that. That wasn't getting me much, so if I do the boots thing, maybe it'll work. Look for corpses wearing fancy boots, but in all this mud everything looks the same. You decide to go deeper into the pit. Crossing over a mess of entangled remains, you notice a hand sticking out, so I get the same result. Okay. Fingers are covered with jewelry. Carefully lift the man's hand and start taking off the jewelry. 2 rings come off easy, but the other won't budge, and we know from prior experience that pulling as hard as you can is not the answer. We're just going to have to be greedy somewhere else. You move away from the decaying hand and start to look elsewhere when you feel a strong tug on the rope around your waist. You almost lost your balance. Come on, boy. We don't have all night. You look angry at the guards and gravediggers when they burst out laughing. You pull on the rope, giving yourself some slack, and walk over to a woman wearing a large petticoat. As many of the corpses, she's in really bad shape. No teeth, glossy dead eyes, skin as pale as chalk. I have the option to look under her dress. What the hell? What does she have under there? Lift the petticoat carefully. Underneath you find a small string purse filled with coins. Okay, well that makes sense. Putting the purse around your neck, you move to a safe distance from the corpse. Good job. Alright, let's get him out of there. Gravedigger pulls on the rope and hoists you out of the pit. As soon as you reach safer ground, the guard extends his hand with an arrogant smile. In his other hand, you notice a dagger. Give him all the loot, only the purse, or pretend you didn't find anything. I don't really want any of it. He can get sick. I don't need to. You hand over the purse and the rings to the guard. He grins and grabs the loot from your hands. He gives you a suspicious look, tucks away his dagger, and lets you get out of the pit. Okay, I survived. Whew. I think I survived. As the guards escort you back towards the barracks, you come across a man lying in the street. Recognizing the disease, the guards punches his buddy in the shoulder with delight. Hey, I know that guy. That's one of the merchants that sells all those fancy fabrics. Without a blink, he motions for you to go examine the man's pockets. With sharp spears at their sides, you have no choice but to follow his command. You walk closer to the dead man, and as you bend over to pick up the pockets of his coat, you notice the guards are far behind you. If you wanted to flee, this could be your chance. Oh, shit. I should totally run away. I think I'm gonna run away. And worst comes to worst, I end up doing this again. Running. Feeling the movement is right, you dive into a narrow passage. The alleyway stinks of fecal matter and you quickly assess the situation. Running. Start running, but soon notice the ground under your feet is slippery as hell. That's great. You lose your footing and tumble down a few steps to the hard stone floor. Ah! They caught me again. Yeah, here you go. I go back to the dungeons, and Bubba makes me his girlfriend, and I die. It's annoying. I have to go back to the beginning of that. Ugh. We're gonna try this one more time, and if we don't get past it, we'll probably end. But alright, so if I look under there, I get coins. Giving them all the loot. And then they see that guy they know. So I can either flee or pickpocket the merchant. I'm not sure I should flee and just do something different, or if I should pick the pockets. I think I'm gonna flee and hide instead of run, and if that gets me killed again, then we'll know what we have to do next time. And I'll get there before I start taping. Okay, so I dive into the alleyway, and instead of running, I'm gonna hide. You spot a few wooden crates and hide behind them. Soon you hear the running footsteps of the guards getting closer. You also hear them slide on the murky pavement and fall. After a few curse words, they leave the area. Whew, I did it. Following the narrow alleyways and keeping to the shadows, you find your way to the gates that lead out of the city. As the guards were blocking the exit, you realize it's impossible to get out unnoticed. Oh, lovely. You find a secluded corner to hide and wait for an opportunity. At dawn, a man pulling a wooden handcart emerges from a narrow street. He stops in front of a house, picks up a corpse, and puts it in the cart. You recognize the man as one of the grave diggers and conclude he must be taking the dead body to the pit outside the city. As the grave digger stops at the gate, you talk to one of the guards. You realize this could be your chance. Do I really want to get on a cart with a bunch of dead people? I'm not sure I should hide in the cart with the dead people. Maybe I should bribe them. Fudge. Remembering the black bread you stole from the plaza, you walk over to the gravedigger. You show him the bribe and ask for help exiting the city. He accepts the offer and grabs the black bread out of your hand. He pulls out a cloak from one of the corpses and wraps it around you. As he takes one handle of the cart to push, you understand he wants you to take the other side. Together you push the cart right past the guards and exit the town. Out of sight, you drop the cloak and dive into a nearby bush. Gravedigger grins as he continues his journey. As you lie down on the ground, a sudden feeling of guilt comes over you. The clouds above you twist and morph themselves into angry faces. Their judging gazes peer down at you. Everything becomes as blinding as light. Great, did I just die? I've strayed away from my moral sanctity. I didn't know I had any. So apparently I can make bad choices and, like, pretty much feel horrible about them and have to re-choose. That's nice. I don't know, I was under the impression during the Black Death he did whatever the hell he had to survive. Not when God's watching you. Oh well. We'll figure out if I can get out of the city without being a horrible person next time. And I hope you enjoyed our episode of Tales of the Black Death. And eventually I might make it out of Italy and go to the other two places I'm supposed to go to. Because, you know, we got France still and England, I think. Alright. See y'all soon. Laters.